Hi, my name is G. In the previous video we had just finished up our hexnut part and we had talked about starting our bolt. Before we got there, I wanted to briefly talk about linting. And as a reminder, what linting is it's a program that you can run on your code to ensure that your code's following a consistent style guide, it's formatted properly. It can also check for things like bugs or poor programming practices, such as making a function like way too complicated. So it's a very, very good thing to do, and the platform includes a lint program that's going to run a couple of things on your code, and that way the code across workbenches is consistently formatted and then follows certain best practices. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about it. You may have noticed throughout these videos as you've been working, the editor has been giving you little squiggly lines. You've probably been wondering what that is. For example, if I were to just remove a blank line there, I can see if I wait a second, I'm getting a little red squiggly under the DEF character here, and it's telling me it expected 2 blank lines, but it only found 1. And this is coming from something called Flake 8, which is one of the Python programs we use for linting. So if I could just manually fix that by putting the blank line there, but it's kind of tedious and annoying, and it's not really the best way to do it, because as we're writing code, we may be going fast, we're going to be kind of mucking it up as we go here, and by the time that we're done, we might have 10 lint errors just throughout this because we're kind of sloppy or lazy, or we're whatever, we're going kind of quick. So the better way to do this is just when you're done with a file, just periodically you just want to automatically reformat it. So type Control-Shift-P to open up Visual Studio Code's command palette, and you start typing format document. And as a keyboard shortcut, Control-Shift-I to do this, but format document. So what that did was it just fixed all of the linting issues within this, all of the white space issues. So we can also similarly, for example, let's get rid of this. We can run the OSE WB lint command. So here's the lint command, and I'll type OSE WB lint, and we should see the same information being output by the OSE WB CLI that we're seeing in Visual Studio Code. So here it's telling me expected 2 blank lines, found 1. Here similarly, expected 2 blank lines, found 1. It's telling me the name of the file as well as the line number. Line 24, and it's the first column or character. So yeah, there's more information if you go to the OSE Workbench platform GitHub Repository, and I'll include a link to this in the description below. But if we scroll down to the command section and click lint, it'll talk about the different programs that we run. So Flake 8 is one of them, and if we go to its website, Flake 8 is actually a combination of a couple of other programs. So if I go to Flake 8 man page, talks a little bit about it. So it's a combination of something called PyFlakes, PyCode style, and then this Macabre complexity checker. You don't have to know what all these are, but just know that PyCode style is primarily for ensuring that your code's following PEP 8, or the Python Enhancement Proposal 8, which is kind of the official style guide for Python. Macabre complexity checkers, this basically just ensures that no one function or piece of code is way too complex. PyFlakes is kind of similar to PyCode style, although it tries to not complain about like white space issues or anything like that, anything stylistic. It's only gonna try and focus on never complain about style, and we'll try very, very hard to never omit false positives. So you can read more about that. So Flake 8 is kind of a combination of all three of these. The next thing that the lint command is going to run is something called mypy. And mypy is for static type checking. So let's talk a little bit about that. We've briefly talked about type hints, so this colon syntax where we say floats, or specify the return type with this arrow syntax. So let's give it a quick example of the kinds of things that mypy will check for you. So imagine that we have a sum function for a and b are both going to be integers or ints. So let's go ahead and write that. And the sum function will return an integer. And what if we call sum with a string instead, like the number 1 but a string? So let's go ahead and do that. So this is wrong, and wouldn't it be nice if I had the program tell me it was wrong? And so that's what mypy will do for you. So mypy will complain about this, and it'll tell you, hey, like, you said here that we're expecting an integer, but you're passing in a string. What are you doing? And similarly, we can run our lint command, and we see here hexnut.py on line 10, argument 1 to sum has an incompatible type of str or string and expected an int or integer. So yeah, that's pretty handy. And there's of course a link to mypy's website if you want to read more about it from our README. Another thing that I'll talk about is the --fix flag. So it can be common for some of these linting errors to build up, especially if you're not periodically fixing them in VS Code as you go. So like, let's say you have a lot of these errors like all throughout files just because you haven't really been paying attention. So I just created 2 problems. So it's telling me that I got some issues, and I can attempt to automatically fix them by running OSE wb lint --fix. And it's not a silver bullet, it can't fix everything, but it's pretty good at fixing like little white space issues. And so you see here that we fixed all our issues and we're good to go. Another thing I'll talk about is the imports. So we like our import statements in a particular way, and so if I were to just like rearrange the import statements here, I'm gonna see the linter start to complain to me, Flake 8 found an import in the wrong position. So if we just try and format the document, it's not going to fix that for us. We have to run something separate. So if in the command palette, Control-Shift-P, if we just do sort imports here, it should automatically resort our imports and fix that for us. And the linter is gonna, the lint command will pick up on that same thing and complain about the imports not being sorted. So, but similarly, it should be able to fix something like that for us. So yeah, that's import statements. So hopefully it's not too much of a pain in the ass. The goal is to, keep the code clean and crisp and consistent looking to help with readability and things, but it does take a little bit of getting used to. And yeah, I guess I can finally just mention that we are doing a little bit of configuration, so there's links to these configuration files for things like Flake8 or MyPy, and you had actually already seen these when you set up and configured VS Code in your settings. So you'll notice that we're actually kind of passing these config files to things like Flake8 that are within the platform and MyPy as well. And that's because we want the editor, VS Code, to speak the same language and operate under the same rule set as the OSE WB CLI. We don't want the CLI and VS Code to be telling you two different things, because that would be really annoying. So yeah, that's just a quick segue on linting, and in the next video we'll start talking about our bolt part. Thank you.